for the end of the night, man. Chapter 11 proceedings typically do not end with pre-existing shareholders receiving anything. What is the likelihood of that for the Bed Bath case? I am, of course, not a soothsayer, so cannot give a definitive answer to this question. However, in this post, I will run through what I believe are the plausible range of scenarios. 1. How do Chapter 11 proceedings usually finish? As per this explanatory statement from the U.S. courts, as a Chapter 11 proceeding can end in one of the following scenarios: reorganization. Basically, this is a successful proceeding. Where the company debts are rejigged in a way that satisfies their creditors, and the business is able to exit Chapter 11 with a viable plan for being profitable. That can be by reducing the debt to a manageable level and keeping the same management team and ownership, or it could be through a buyout by another party. Someone said, "Daddy PD, take your shirt off." Dismissal. This is when the reorganization plan is deemed by the bankruptcy court to not be viable. In this scenario, the Chapter 11 case is dismissed and the company's creditors can resume their efforts to claim back the money they are owed without the protection afforded to the company when the Chapter 11 proceedings are taking place. Conversion. This is when it is deemed that the only way to pay these creditors is to liquidate the company, sell off all of the constituent parts, and use that money to pay off the creditors. What we are all hoping for is, of course, a successful reorganization, although it has to be said, the odds are not in Bed Bath's favor. I found this academic study conducted by Notre Dame's law school, and according to this, only about 10 to 12% of Chapter 11 filings end positively. Well, guess what, man? I think we're going to be part of that fucking 10 to 12%. I just feel like if it was any other play and Ryan Cohn wasn't involved and all these like weird connections, yeah, I'd probably say if this was any other stock, it probably wouldn't look too good. It's again my own opinion. 2, why Bed Bath Chapter 11 could end unsuccessfully. So we're going to look at the bad and we're going to look at the good. Based on those statistics, the probability that the ongoing Chapter 11 process ends unsuccessfully is then undoubtedly very high. Throughout this saga, there have been hints that there are white knight actors involved who could come in and save the day. However, they are yet to materialize, and the players that have officially entered the arena are not exactly known for protecting the interests of retail investors. Well, I do have to say, I mean, we do have Ryan Cohen's name on a couple filings, so I mean, I'd say that's already step one. If his name wasn't anywhere on it or any of this shit, I mean, yeah, it probably wouldn't look too good. The likes of Hudson Bay, B. Riley, Sixth Street, and so on have some history of delivering good outcomes to equity holders in their plays, but just as many, if not more, where there is simply not a consideration for them. Oh, it looks like we got another member for the PP show, man. Sebastian, welcome to the fucking PP membership, man. Appreciate the love. All right. So even if a successful reorganization is achieved and Bed Bath is able to exit Chapter 11 with their operations intact in some form, that does not mean us shareholders are guaranteed to receive anything. The simple fact remains that, according to Holly Etlin's Docket 10 filing to the bankruptcy court, the company has around 800 million in secured creditors, JP Morgan, Sixth Street, etc., and 1 billion in unsecured creditors, mainly bondholders, to pay off before shareholders even come into the equation. That too is only the funded debt. The aggregate debt situation is even worse. The company estimated it had assets of 4.4 billion and total debt of 5.2 billion as of late November. And the number of creditors is between 25,001 and 50,000, with BNY Mellon having the biggest unsecured claim of 1.18 billion. BNY Mellon is a trustee on 3 senior debt issues, according to a spokesman for the firm. So the chances of a successful reorganization based on historical data is low. The chances that such a successful reorganization leaves anything for equity shareholders is even lower. It is irrational to ignore these facts because quite simply they are the facts. 3. Why Bed Bath Chapter 11 could end successfully. And yet here I am still holding my Bed Bath Q shares and continue to add more when I get the pocket money. I'm with there. I'm same way with you there, fucking formal. Why? Because I believe there are several factors which marks Bed Bath to be different to historical precedences of most Chapter 11 filings. The first of these is that vast majority um, are carried out by failed startups or companies that remain small and never got to a national stage. A reorganization requires the cooperation and support of a number of stakeholders, particularly the creditors and financial institutions who can provide funds for the company to turn itself around. For small firms or ones which never had a sound business model to begin with, gaining such sentiment is of course difficult. So most chapter 11 filings are doomed from the start. That is not the case here. The second factor in Bed Bath's favor is therefore that the larger and more well-known the business, the higher the chance that they can generate such sentiment for stakeholders. If a company has historically been successful, there is obviously more confidence from creditors and financiers that a viable business could be possible once more. Hence, the chances that such companies can receive the necessary support needed to successfully exit Chapter 11 are much higher than the data suggests. Some example of large firms that successfully reorganize their debt include General Motors, American Airlines, Marvel Entertainment, wow, Six Flags Theme Parks, Delta Airlines, MGM Studios, General Electric, Charter Communications, Sbarro Pizza, Friendly's Ice Cream, Eddie Bauer Clothing, Hertz, and Revlon, and many, many more. It has to be said, though, that not all of these successful Chapter 11 restructurings left much for shareholders after repaying creditors. That has only happened in a minority of cases to the extent of the shareholders probably feeling satisfied with what they got. One such example is American Airlines. As I showed in the DD a couple of weeks back, an existing shareholder who bought the Chapter 11 dip could have walked away with a 23,500% ROI. Holy shit, man. You guys want Thule in here? All right, Thule, here's a link. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Quit being a poo-poo. All right. Thule, while we're waiting for you, we're gonna keep reading this. 23,500%, man. That's a fucking gain, man. Okay. That is a fucking gain. Additionally, as per another of my DDs last month, in the case of General Motors, Hertz, and Revlon, which we've gone over before, skeptics may point to some of the companies. Hold on one second. Let's bring in Thule. Hey, Thule, what's going on?
You alright, man? How you doing?
Hey, just chilling, man. Having a good time. We're just getting through this DD here. If you have anything to throw in as I'm reading it, would love to hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Hang on, I've got my webcam going. Is that working?
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow, dude, you got a nice setup there.
Cheers, bro.
Cool,
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
pretty new.
Hell yeah, your voice
How
is
you
so
doing, Pete?
calming. Peter,
Pete,
you there?
how are you doing?
Hey,
You're
how you
you're
doing,
muted.
Tuli? Oh, I was muted. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, Tuli.
How you doing, mate?
All right, dude.
All right.
Are you a bit more bullish these days?
As bullish as you can be when you're under Chapter 11, and we're kind of, Region here is explaining how this could possibly turn out. with us getting paid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
already
know,
a
definitely.
and,
twenty-three
you know, and
thousand.
he mentions Carl in it and
Mhm.
all of that. So I'm very
Twenty-three
excited.
thousand percent is pretty tit jacking, man. How Bed Bath Chapter 11 could end could end successfully for shareholders, Part 4. For such an outcome to occur, I believe each of the following would need to take place: an acquisition of the company by a well-funded investor at a high price, and a reduction of the debt to lower the liabilities this buyer would have to pay to satisfy creditors. Um, Yeah, that's interesting. Followed by a sale of which a jewel in the crown, the Bye Bye Baby subsidiary, again at a high price, leaving enough proceeds to reward Bed Bath's current long suffering shareholders in such a way to provide them with an attractive ROI. The equation is thus fairly simple. For shareholders to come out with anything, the company will need to be sold off, creditors to then be fully paid out, and enough finally be left over to return a meaningful amount to shareholders. Is this the most likely scenario? With all the current publicly available evidence, it is difficult to make a case to say it is the most likely outcome. Is it then an unlikely scenario? Again, with all the evidence available, most investors would probably say that it is unlikely. But is a plausible sequence of events, I would say that is undoubtedly possible. Here's an example how. Short Wars, A New Hope. Many of you recall the battles with the financier Carl Icahn had in recent months with the board of biotechnology company Illumina. This culminated in a famous letter that he addressed to shareholders of the company, a section of which as follows. Icahn Enterprises specialty over the last 25 years has been investing in companies that are in crisis. I and my team have dealt with many difficult situations. There are many examples of management teams and the board that at first were against us, but now credit us for making hundreds of billions of dollars for all shareholders. These companies include Motorola, Cherny, Chenry, Apple, Netflix, Caesars, Herbalife, and Forest Labs, just to name a few. In almost every case, Icon Enterprise IEP invested hundreds of millions of dollars of our own capital in these companies and greatly enhanced value not only for ourselves, but for all shareholders. As it has been said, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I like that. Let us quickly look at the results. On January 1st, 2000, the closing sale price of IEP depository units was 763. On March 10th, 2023, IEP depository units closed at 5040, a 2,259% increase. This
Let's fucking
translate
go, PP.
this
Let's
translates to
fucking
an
go.
annualized return of approximately 15%, including reinvestment of distributions into additional depository units and taking into account in-kind distributions of depository units. Comparatively, the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial, Russell 2000 indices, and Berkshire Hathaway increased approximately 308%, 379, 375%, and 721, respectively over the same period, which translate to an annualized return of only 6, 7, and 9%, respectively, including reinvestment of distribution into these investments. Mr. Icon is one of the white knights that has been heavily speculated may come in and save the day for Bed Bath. If he were to do it, then how might he go about it? Well, if you do a Google search for his past buyouts or other or offers to buy out of companies, you would see a common theme. Namely, that is the vast majority of them. Uh, he already has had a small portion of the equity before bidding to buy out the rest of the shareholders. Hang on one second. My wife's calling me. You guys take over.
All right. I'll take over reading it. Well, if you do a Google search for his past buyouts or offers to buy out of companies, then you would see a common theme. Namely, that the vast majority of them, he already had some portion of the equity before bidding to buy out the rest of the shareholders' positions. Now, do you remember the post that I made last week? I do, RegionFormal. In that post, I show B. Riley was employed by BBBY earlier this year to sell 331 million new. I have to get it on mine. Okay, I'll continue reading them.
All right, I'm back.
All right.
Sorry about that.
I continued reading to the bottom of your page here.
Okay, so did you already read this or no?
We got to
No, this is where I'm
stuff over
starting. In
Okay, all right.
yeah,
In the
right.
post, I show that B. Riley was employed by Bed Bath earlier this year to sell 311 million new shares on their behalf. Um, However, I pointed out that B. Riley were not obligated to deliver this immediately. Indeed, they in fact appear to have entered into a lockup agreement with an unknown securities holder on February 7th for these shares. The lockup agreement contains a 90-day restricted period, which ended on May 8th. Therefore, any time since then, this unnamed person slash entity could have consummated the agreement and proceeded to take full ownership rights to these 311 million shares. What if this securities holder is Mr. Icon? It would certainly fit with his playbook. As I said, of taking a minority stake in a firm before offering to buy out the rest, could this also be one of the contributor reasons for the delay in Bed Bath publishing the list of shareholders with more than 4.5% of shares outstanding? Brokers registered with Seed & Co. seem to be trying to delay divulging their lists for as long as possible, but Bed Bath has also thus far perhaps gone somewhat slowly to release the list as well. Could this be that reason? It is certainly not out of the question, at least in my eyes. 6. Short Wars, the shorted strike back. Let us say it is, and we find out that Mr. Icon is the owner, utilizing that aforementioned lockup agreement of 311 million shares of Bed Bath. It would surely then make a bid by them to buy out the remainder of equity, the most viable in the eyes of the bankruptcy court. The reason being that any such bid would not, of course, require him to buy out his portion of ownership. Thus, the overall cost to pay creditors and buy the rest of the shares would be significantly lower. A lower cost for Icon to achieve the above does not necessarily sound like it would be the best outcome for shareholders. However, what is the most profitable approach that he could take? How about instead of making a straight cash offer, it is instead in the form of a mixed cash and stock deal? Specifically a certain number of Icon IEP shares for a certain number of Bed Bath shares. I'd fucking love it, man. I'm already holding IEP, so I'd be with it. If
My
that's the
man, me
case.
too. And
I'd
there's a
be with it.
nice divvy,
Yeah, I'd be with it, man.
on IEP.
I wouldn't be opposed
Just
to it.
picked up that divvy. Actually,
Yeah.
the record date was the 19th.
How could this be the most profitable approach to give away a sizable portion of IEP stock to secure the deal? Well, some of you may recall this DD that I first posted last year with the following TLDR. MA deals typically involve all cash deals or all stock combination deals. All cash deals are far more common as it results in an acquisition price being set but prevents short squeezes. However, all stock/combination deals can result in continued trading of the shares of the companies involved. Until the final deal is completed, this could mean large changes to share prices. There are numerous examples of huge short squeezes of companies that had high short interest and who were undergoing all stock combination MA deals. However, it is a fact that the majority of MA deals are of the all cash form. So there's a very real possibility that any such announcement for Bed Bath would be of that kind. As that would prevent additional price discovery, it would also likely prevent a short squeeze from continuing. On the other hand, if a proposed MA deal for either an all stock or combination deal, then historically, this has been proven to trigger for short sellers to close their positions. If this is the form of MA that is announced, personally, I will continue to hodl because the share price is bound to explode before the deal is closed. So, what would happen if Mr. Icon were to make a bid, which is either fully offering IEP shares in lieu of cash or a mixture of IEP shares and cash? I believe it would mean that those with short positions in Bed Bath Q will need to close out their positions and thus very likely to trigger a short squeeze of the stock. As I showed in a post a couple weeks back, there are at least 41 million extra shares out there with Seed & Co. registered street name brokers. And that is even before the hidden naked shorted shares are taken into account. The plan for short sellers is that they would not only have to close their Bed Bath Q trades, but also deliver shares of IEP as well. If it
Which
is an
just got
all
attacked by shorts. Let's remember, guys.
right, yeah, oh yeah, you're right. If it is an all stock or mixed cash stock offer, recently there has been a short and distort attack on Mr. Icon in IEP, which has resulted in its price falling quite drastically. Could the reason they have targeted IEP be in anticipation of such an offer for Bed Bath using his company's own stock? Such a scenario would, in my opinion, drive the price of both stocks up and therefore the ideal scenario for Mr. Icon. Carl I. Candy. Love to hear it. Another of his trademark plays when it comes to Chapter 11 buyouts has been the purchasing of the debtor company's bonds by doing so. The proportion of bonds that would need to be paid out as part of the final deal could then be significantly reduced. If the buyer is also a major bondholder, they could cancel the need to compensate those bonds, again making such a bid highly attractive for the bankruptcy court. And what have we been seeing happening with Bed Bath bonds of late? As per these posts by Silv, and we also have Frem, throughout this month, these bonds have been continuing to be brought up in high volumes for pennies on the dollar. Those users are u/Sylvan T off, and then the other one is u/Fremtige Meglarin. All right.
They also shot up the other month, was it in February, when they ran hundreds and hundreds of percent.
Yeah.
Like, it's in the bond.
Um,
I've always thought the bond action is something we need to be paying attention to.
I
right.
agree.
Also, ABC is looking for a link.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got to end the show soon, though. So, ABC, why don't you hop on and we can finish this up. How much? We're on 7. Okay. We're pretty much at the end here. Short Wars, the return of the ABC's here. Let's bring him back in real quick. What's going on, man?
Hey, brother, I don't want to interrupt. I do want to interrupt. I mean, I'm listening to you read off that DD, and it's getting me.
Yeah.
It reminds me of ICANN. Carl, 2 filings ago, his 2 financial reports ago, I think it was February, he was literally missing a holding. So he has 17 holdings.
I remember.
He only declared 16 of them.
Yeah.
And remember the monetary amount? There was like $20 billion missing from his holdings.
I remember that.
And we all thought it was a typo, and we all thought all this.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, he even filed an NDA with the SEC at that point in time saying, I'll share my other holding, but it'll have to be through an NDA type of process. And so with this recent attack on Carl, that just confirms that the street often gets word before everybody else.
That's correct.
And you know what? Maybe it could have been the PP show, because for months, I've been talking about Carl and stuff like that, and you guys too, and realize, and so I'm just, we're here, boys. We're here. I can't stay long, but I just want to jump that in because it triggered me about the Carl filing. And that's when I kind of realized, shit, this is going to be a Carl, then an RC move. Right. And that's why RC's kept his distance. And, anyways, just want to jump in there, say hi. Love yous all. Cheers, my man.
Cool, man. Appreciate the support from you and Mrs. ABC tonight, man.
Always, brother.
All right, man.
Cheers, man.
See ya. ABC's jacked, man. Can you say? All right. So for Mr. Icon, the appeal of bringing Bed Bath into his portfolio is obvious. Given the potential synergies with his current group company, Newell Brands, Bed Bath could then become one of these brands or play host in its stores to its full range. But what if the saga doesn't end here? We know that Ryan Cohen has been interested in Bye Bye Baby for some time, and almost certainly that is still the case now. As u/Road Jazz showed in that post yesterday, it also appears that he has been involved with Bed Bath all the way up to Chapter 11 filing. So we saw that yesterday with the pitch book and Ryan Cohen. We know that Mr. Cohen and Mr. Icon have had face-to-face collaboration due to the famous photo the former released of their meeting at his house a few months ago. What if that was to make a pre-planned agreement about Baby, whereby a newly Icon-controlled BBBY spins off the subsidiary to RC Ventures or some other Cohen-run entity? This could also take the form of an exchange of shares. For example, those of a newly launched Teddy for Bed Bath Q. I believe Teddy's stock, if it launches with an IPO, would appreciate it greatly and thus provide a huge long-term windfall for Bed Bath shareholders. However, an even more bullish scenario would be if a share exchange involves Mr. Cohen's current main holding GME stock. The spinning off and sale of Baby could then be concurrent to the sale of the rest of Bed Bath to IEP. The same mechanisms explained previously could then mean that all three stocks, BBBYQ, IEP, GME, short squeeze at the same time. Holy shit. Given the high proportion of Bed Bath Q shareholders who are also GME shareholders, this could be beyond the wildest dreams of this group, no doubt. And given how naked short GME is, in combination with Bed Bath squeezing, I believe this could truly be the trigger for MOAS. Wow, I'm holding all three. Could you imagine if all three squeezed? Jesus Christ, man. All right.
I'm holding a
So
couple of those.
yeah, we're gonna Thule. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man.
Tell us some of the things you're thinking, and we're probably going to start bringing the show to a close. So, and I'm sorry that I don't know if how long you were messaging me to try to get in.
Not
I will
long.
give you a link on Discord. Use it anytime you want to come onto the show. Okay.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it'll be a lot easier that way. So tell me what you're thinking, man. Well, we got some bull toolies in the fucking in the chat.
Always a
Let's hear it.
bull.
Yeah.
Well, I'd want to jump in because I go away sailing today in the
Oh.
UK. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like a proper old sailing boat, so we're going out to sea and there won't be any connection.
Yeah.
I might miss my wife, but I'm all right to do that because I plan on holding through
Yeah.
it anyway. Only selling a little bit at very stupid price targets, and if it doesn't reach that, I won't be upset about that because
Yeah.
I think that Above and Beyond is positioning itself to come out of Chapter 11
Mhm.
and provide a lot of happy days to its shareholders. I've always thought that. As soon as we got Chapter 11, ABC woke me up like, "Oh God, are you okay? Have you seen what's happened?" And
Yeah.
I just sort of looked at it, turned over, and went back to sleep. It was like, whatever.
Oh God, you got to be
Yeah.
sleeping, Thule. You
Yeah.
need to sleep,
I
man.
used to get a lot of sleep, but now I'm not so
Fuck.
much. But yeah, I think that Chapter 11 has always been sort of a fail-safe. They knew that it would provide opportunity to navigate debt and navigate problems in contracts that they've got themselves into with bonds and loans and whatever. Like Chapter
Yeah.
11 has stopped them basically going bankrupt for real. Like it's done its job.
Yeah.
And it's allowed an opportunity for, I think, personally, ICANN is making a play with the bonds and has been for a long
I
time.
think so. Yeah,
I
I think
thought
you're
that
right, man.
I thought that back in January. That was my personal
Yep.
thesis. I was like, even to Deng, I was telling him I think that ICANN's going to make a play with the bonds,
Hmm.
and we'd have conversations about how that would be able to happen.
Hmm.
Given that you'd have to get approval for the dilution that would take place to convert that into equity. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's still on the cards. Um, Yeah, I'm excited. I really am. And I like that Pete's coming around a little bit. I think we're on the horizon now, and
Yeah, yeah. Pete's liking this this move with IEP and some of this stuff. So I mean, Pete
Well,
would be
I bought
ecstatic, man, if
IEP.
it was IEP.
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, I was tempted.
that's my tinfoil. If anybody's doing this shit, it's Icon with that debt to equity white paper shit.
Yeah, you get a
And
nice tax benefit, and why not?
right,
Billionaires love it, man. They
he's
save
got the
money.
he's got the war chest to do it. He's got
Yeah, why
enough
not?
financial runway to do it, and
Exactly.
you
Mhm.
know, and I, I've already made money on that IEP position.
Yeah.
I've got my average. If you would like to know, PP
What is it?
is
Like
100.
28?
It's 100 shares, and no, I didn't get in that low, unfortunately.
Mm.
It's 100 shares at 33.68.
Oh, that's good.
And okay, but here's the thing, buddy. All
Hmm.
right. And the reason it went down $2 on Friday is because of the ex-dividend date, right?
Mhm.
That's the day it essentially, quote unquote, trades without a dividend, because the record date for the dividend was Friday. So as of Friday, my shares are getting paid out
Yeah.
$2 per share of a dividend that's going to pay out on like end of June 30, I think is the date.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, when I bought the position, I wrote the $35 call. All right. So I made $100 off that. So off my position, I've made $300. And even though my position is down by like $150, I've still made $150 roughly on the position, even though the stock has gone down since I bought it.
That's not bad, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good move.
So it's
selling the
and
cost.
that's the best entry I could get. I
Right.
tried to get in at the low, but
Mhm.
I didn't quite get it quite right. But my biggest tranche of shares was bought below 32. So
All right.
so
Love to fucking hear it, man.
yeah. So what are you in for, if you don't mind me asking?
29.
29.
Yeah.
What
Like
do you have for
29,
average?
29 something.
That's your average.